What's going on, gamers? I'm getting ready for that Xbox Dev Direct here soon, but we're doing this video before that. I want to put that up first, though, obviously, but we have a lot to talk about here before this goes live. We got Circana US sales December for 2025, and Nintendo Switch 2 is #1, like I told people. Sony did those huge sales too, and Nintendo was still #1. That should tell you how much they sell in December, as I told people. But it's also good that Sony did those sales because that was a pro-consumer move, and they're both doing great things to lift up the gaming industry as Xbox died off. Next Playground had a little bit of a, oomph there, and Steam is doing what it's doing on Steam, but we're talking about hardware here, you know what I mean? Because the more you have a bigger base, the more you can buy software, the more their engagement is in the subscription market, and the more you can support the gaming industry. Because if you don't have an install base, you don't have anything. You know what I mean? If your install base is tanking off, there's not that many people active. If there's not that many people active, what is that going to lead into for everything else? Not much. You see what I mean? So Nintendo Switch 2 was #1. PlayStation 5 was #2. He didn't even say nothing about Xbox. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is #1, obviously, but it has a lot to do with PlayStation and Xbox. You see what I mean? Most likely PlayStation carrying. So once again, they have to rely off of PlayStation to be successful. NBA 2K26 #2 and Battlefield 6 #3, but this is all stuff that is third party on PlayStation. And these games are also on Nintendo Switch 2 when you think about 2K26. That's about it, but these two are not. But they're selling very well on PlayStation still. And it's selling decently on Xbox as well, because it's a shooter platform. So it's not like they don't add to that. Now it says video game market highlights thread from Circana. Increases in consumer spending on subscription services, hardware, and mobile content helped the U.S. video game market reach $60.7 billion in 2025, achieving growth, 1.4% growth when compared to a year ago. The console industry was not going down. Even the slump of Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2 did so well that it helped it grow along with PlayStation. Do you see this? It achieved growth. So the console industry, all that doom and gloom, that's only people saying that because they're on the loser side and they can't stand that, so they want to say stupid stuff like that. Or there's some fanboy on PC. So December 2025, 20 best-selling premium games. We got Black Ops, 2K26, Battlefield, Madden, the usual cycle. Pokemon being there, but guess what though? Nintendo doesn't give digital sales. And seeing Metroid Prime be there without digital sales makes me very happy. I can't wait to see these sales here. But let's get down to the really good stuff, guys. It's going to be pretty crazy here. Are we ready? Here goes the real stuff right here. Okay, December hardware spending increased by 6%. Even with the tank off of Xbox sales, it increased by 6% because it switched to. And PlayStation going on sale. When compared to a year ago, to 1.2 billion. Do we see this? Do we see this? Do we see this? All that talk. Yeah, all that talk and grifting. It's not working. Unit sales in the month fell by 8% versus 2024. While the average sales price increased by 18%, annual spending finished 9% ahead of a year ago. Once again, growth again for the whole entire year at 5.4 billion. Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 led the market in both unit and dollar sales during December and 2025, and they launched in June. And PlayStation did those sales on November and December. What I tell you? They did not fall off. All this doom and gloom you're hearing again. Oh, they're pulling down the stock. All that they do, that's all grift. What happened though? Led the hardware market in both unit and dollar sales during December and 2025. Switch 2 and PlayStation 5 carrying hard in 2025. Sony and Nintendo doing their jobs. See, I'm not sitting here trying to beat down PlayStation because I play both and I love both. You guys know I love Nintendo as well, a lot. But guess what, though? They led and they won, even after launching in June. That's how much they sold. Helping offset, what did I say? Helping offset year-on-year declines across other platforms. PlayStation 5 placed second across both measure and time periods. And they had those sales going. They had to do that. That's something they had to do. But Sony did the right thing because that was pro-consumer. But even doing all that, Nintendo still won the whole year for 2025 and December. You see what I'm saying? And they launched in June. That's how good the Switch 2 did. Are we ready? Nintendo Switch 2 finished its 7th month in the market with a life-to-date U.S. install base of 4.4 million units, nearly doubled the install base of the original Switch on a time-aligned basis. You want to talk about all this other stuff? Shut your mouth. Yeah, all this grift. What's going on here? Doubled the install base of the original Switch. 4.4 million in the U.S. Switch 2 remains the fastest selling video game hardware platform. Fastest selling video game hardware platform. Fastest selling video game hardware platform in tracked history. Still holding the record. All that grifting, like I said. Unit sales of Switch 2 are 35% ahead of PlayStation 4's sale pace after 7 months on the market. Man, we got these haters over here, man. They're not ready. You see what that just said? You see what that just said? You see what that just said? See, you know why this is good? Because a real gaming company is still leading because they're all about gaming. They don't chase AI. They don't lay off their developers. You have the Steam Deck because of them. You have Gabe Newell saying what he said because of them. Everything Nintendo has done for the gaming industry, it's insurmountable. This is where I give credit where credit's due. Yeah, nobody likes the $80 game. I didn't agree on that, but that's one thing. You want to talk about all these other companies, what they did? Insane. Sony stepped their game up towards the end of the year too with PlayStation. Xbox is the disappointing one here. So 35% ahead with the record. That's massive. Congratulations. See, we ain't no hater over here. Content, December video game content spending grew 3% when compared to a year ago to 5.9 billion. What does that say? It grew again. Here's another section that grew. Why? Because of Switch 2, right? And PlayStation doing what they're supposed to do. Spending on subscription services increased by 24% when compared to a year ago, while the PC, cloud, and non-VR console segment gained 6%. That's good. Gaming is growing still in all segments, even with Xbox taken down. That's how good Nintendo's doing and PlayStation. 2025 annual video game content spending grew. Here we go again, another growth, 1% compared to 2024, reaching 52.3 billion. Even after the tank off of what happened with Xbox, it's still growing. Growth in spending on subscription services and a 1% increase in mobile offset. Black Ops 7 was December's best-selling game across physical, tracked, and digital. Nintendo doesn't give digital, so their games are not going to be up there like that. I mean, they're up there, but they need to give digital to companies. Funny, I don't know why they don't do it. We would be able to actually report even more stuff if they would do that. 2025 marked the 7th consecutive year a Call of Duty game has been December's best-selling. Smash Bros. Ultimate was 2018. Yeah, first-party game. And you guys want to know what's so funny? Battlefield finished as 2025's best-selling video game and tracked full game dollar sales. Yes, you beat Call of Duty. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sit down, Activision. Step your game up. That's what I like to see right there, guys. That makes me very happy. You know what I mean? Because that game was good. Okay, so here's something else we're going to be highlighting here when I'm talking about Nintendo. When we take a look at some of these charts here. Okay, let's read this first. So, quick hit US VG market takes. Holiday came late this year. Consumers waited and waited, but eventually showed up. PlayStation 5 discounted helped a ton. See, PlayStation 5 going on that discount, that was very pro-consumer. Good job, Sony. PlayStation 5 discounting helped a ton, as we see. Switch 2 finished at 4.4 million versus 4.3 pre-launch forecast. He forecast that. Spending increase was generally driven by higher pricing. Battlefield 6 as well helped. Okay, now let's take a look at this. Guys, this is what I want to talk about when I mean by also like Nintendo in-house is superior and it's about exclusive power. Okay, so they hold all the records. They won the whole thing along with PlayStation winning too. They both won together in a lot of ways. I don't like to kind of separate that in a way. And it's disappointing that Xbox is there. Not like I want it to be there. I would like to see it doing better. Imagine if they would have did those sales. But we would probably had some records here. But of course, still had growth though in all categories. December 2025, top best-selling premium games on PlayStation. Now guys, look, COD, 2K26, Madden, Battlefield, EA, one Sony game, right? EA all the time, right? We see this EA stuff, and then we see Take-Two, and then Microsoft, because of course they bought Call of Duty, and then Forza 5. But we see one Sony first-party game. All right, you're ready to go to Xbox. We see 2 Xbox games, but I mean, really, they bought this and monopolized, but it's like, come on, it's Call of Duty. But you see what I mean? EA and Take-Two, watch Nintendo. All Nintendo. You see the difference here? And it's been this way since the 90s. This is stuff I'm trying to talk about when I'm like, do you understand the difference between somebody actually having their hardware and being one with it and dominating their platform? In-house, exclusive power. They dominate their platform with all their games. They're not even giving you digital here. Sega was the only one up there with Sonic Crossing Worlds. But you guys see what I mean? Here's a difference here. This is what I would have liked to see on Xbox and PlayStation more. Because what this means is you're not in the same zombie cycle over and over again. You got all your own art, your own development, your own developers dominating your own machine. And third parties really trying to get in there and compete. This is the thing that's glorious about Nintendo. They dominate their own hardware. They always have since the beginning. So when they were leading and winning, which they've always had for the longest, besides the PS2 era, you know, hey, Sony did their thing. Those are the things I didn't like. It was them doing it from their own insides. It's not being hijacked and carried by something outside of themselves. You got to really think about how important that is. And this is where Sony wants to get up to. This is even what Microsoft wanted to get up to. Because once you get here, can't nobody take nothing from you. Ain't no monopolizing against you. And you're showing you can lead. This is what Valve envy. That's what Gabe Newell said. He says, I envy Nintendo because of them being able to be the most innovative when creating hardware and leading and dominating and having a platform where their software and hardware dominate and sync harmoniously. He was jealous of that. And that's what he wanted for Steam and what he wanted for the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine. That's why you got the GameCube, and that's why you got Valve. They want their games to dominate and be evergreen, like Nintendo's evergreen. So, I mean, when you think about these type of things, this is what the industry needed more than anything. Not the same stuff every single year. You know what I mean? Because it's like, to me, this is like a zombie cycle. And it doesn't mean anybody that plays this, I think of you like that. But what I mean is, you guys know what I mean. There's a lack of creativity here and of creative power and in-house. It needs to be better than that. So, December 2025, top best-selling premium games across aggregated PCs. We see Battlefield 6, Black Ops, Kingdom Comes, Elden Ring. But you see what I mean? You don't see no Valve there. You only see this in a Nintendo world. This is huge. This is something to think about. Accessory spending reached $625 million during December. It fell 7%. The Portal, Midnight Black, and the original Portal ranked first and second, respectively, in December. But Switch 2 Pro Controller was the year's best-selling accessory. So Nintendo dominated best-selling in all year. To see that with hardware accessories. And even their software dominated big time too. But what do you expect when they're trying to build up their install base? It's not going to be as high, but if they gave digital, their stuff would be more on the charts across those other platforms. So here we have it where I have to explain these type of things because these are things that really matter in the gaming industry. Console gaming is healthy. It's very healthy. It's just Xbox is not pulling its weight. PlayStation and Nintendo pulled their weight big time. Sony pulled their weight massively in November and December by putting things on sale. That was major. They needed to do that. So you guys let me know what you think about this. I mean, Microsoft needs to step it up this year and be a strong publisher. All their games need to do very well. I would like to see that. You know what I mean? I want to see stuff grow. Gaming needs to grow. I mean, it's one of the very few things in this world that has a soul, but you can't just hit the buy button on and think that everything's just going to be fine. No, it doesn't work that way. And Nintendo leading is always good because that makes everyone else better. They see, oh, they're winning, but they're winning because it's not about power. No, it's not about specs because it's not about power. First party matters massively. Exclusive identity is very important because everything on the market cap in the world, Nvidia, number one, identity. Apple, number two, identity. Google, YouTube, identity. Google, identity. You see what I'm saying? Number four, Microsoft, Windows, identity, even though I hate Windows. But you get this idea, though Microsoft has an identity crisis at the moment. And you keep on looking down like those things, like you look at Samsung, all those other places. Those are identity sealed positions when Disney used to be high up on their identity. If you look at anything, they all have their own identity. They're not all over the place everywhere. No, Apple's only Apple. Nvidia's only Nvidia. AMD's only AMD. Nintendo's only Nintendo. When you think of PlayStation and Sony, it's mostly that as well too, though they branched out a bit. Sony TVs, though they just sold that. Sony Walkman, Sony Pictures. You see what I'm saying? Identity. So you can't sit here and tell me just because one platform fell out because you liked it, you want to try to attack the most important things that always mattered in this world. And it was always exclusive power, hardware, identity, important things. And if you do well in that sector, you're showing that you really know what you're doing. If not, you don't know what you're doing. So you go to other platforms that have a identity so that you could survive on there because their identity and their brand is strong and their mascots are strong. That stuff matters. You don't have that, you have nothing. Then you're just everything, everywhere. Open everywhere. Nah. All right, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, Nintendo spanking, PlayStation doing their thing too. We ain't no haters over here. We congratulate. We don't hate. Later, y'all.